Luz y progreso, y gracias a la misericordia. This is Sancista Brujo Luis, and we're entering into October, the season of the witch. So I decided to do a new series for, this month, which is Halloween, which is October, the season of the witch, and it's going to be followed by the season of the dead, the Day of the Dead, the season of the Gede. So I decided to do a video on something that I have not done since I've started my channel, which is on the Caldron, and how I use my Caldron in my spiritual and magical workings. So right here, let me first start off with, you're seeing right here is an African podgy or podgy or a cauldron, a cast iron cauldron. I've seen videos where people use cauldrons for incense burners or whatever it may be. I have my incense burner for that, and I use the cauldron for what it's for making baños, despojos, potions, and brews. Here you see, well, first of all, I'm going ahead of myself. The spoon represents the male phallic symbol, while the cast iron cauldron represents the female womb. Okay, and inside here you see that I have sweet herbal baths to bring in positive energies for the client, and this bath can be poured over the head. And what I like to do is I like to stir the cauldron and recite either a prayer or an incantation or a spell over the baño, over the bath. You see I'm using fresh herbs. These are all sweet to bring in positive vibrations, and I like to stir when I'm doing a sweet herbal bath for the client. I like to stir the cauldron clockwise, or the direction of the moon and sun. Okay, so this is to bring in positive vibrations. Again, the spoon or the wooden spoon represents the male phallic symbol, while the cauldron itself, the iron cauldron, represents the feminine womb. Again, this is a three-legged caldero. You can see it right there. And this is going to be a bath for a client, a sweet herbal bath to bring in positive energies. I don't use my cauldrons for burning. I have I have an incense burner, and I have a separate pot, little pots that you've seen in my videos that I use to burn certain things. But I do not use my caldero, as we call it in Puerto Rico, mi caldero or mi caldera. For that, I use these to make herbal baths, potions, and brews. This is a sweet herbal bath, and as I stated, I like to go clockwise to bring in positive energies for the client. Now, I'm not using the same spoon because over here I'm making a bitter herbal bath for a client, for the same client, to remove. And when I'm doing a bitter herbal bath, this is not a rule, this is the way I do it. I like to go counter clockwise, okay, to wane that energy, to remove it. This is just the way I do it. It's not necessarily the way you have to do it, okay, but I just like to do it. And I always instruct the person that when it's a bitter herbal bath, never pour the bitter herbal bath. It should be poured from the shoulders down, never above the head. Only pour sweet herbal baths over your head, okay? But when it comes to bitter herbal baths, make sure it goes from the shoulder down. It should not be poured over the head, okay? Also, I've seen a video where a person was making an herbal bath and they were boiling their herbs. Never, ever, 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 ever period, point blank in the story. Boil your herbs, simmer them. To boil your herbs, you're going to remove the ache, the energy, that force that the herbs have, you know, that potency. If you can see, I'm using fresh herbs, okay, for that. But please do not boil your bath. Simmer them, or you can boil the water and pour them. You can boil your water in a cauldron and then pour it over the herbs and extract the energy that way. But I'm just showing you, because we are entering the season of the witch, how I personally like to use mi caldero, my cauldron. Again, and I'm not using the same spoon, I'm putting this spoon down here. When it's for a better herbal bath, I'm using a separate spoon, and I'm going counterclockwise. Now, a lot of people say, well, do you have to use a cast iron cauldron? You really don't have to. I just want to show you. This is the lid that goes with it. It fits nice and tight. Okay, and I can cover it. Okay, this holds around, I think, 4 gallons, 3 or 4 gallons, you know, which is good for herbal baths, for potions, for brews. You know, it holds around 3 or 4 gallons of bath. I mean, the lid is very heavy. You generally don't have to use one of these. They are expensive. These could run up from $100 to $200 and more. For the frugal witches, you can get in an enamel pot, and I purchased this huge pot at Walmart for like $16, and it comes with a lid. Okay, I wouldn't keep the lid there too long, because what would it do? It will probably boil over. Again, when making a herbal bath or potion or brew, try not to keep the lid on, because it will boil over. And this is how I use the caldero, the cauldron de la bruja, el caldero de la bruja, the witch's cauldron. You don't have to use an expensive cauldron. This one holds around 4 gallons. It's pretty big. Okay, you can use an enamel pot that I purchased in Walmart. Okay, or you can use one of these calderos that you can find in a Spanish bodega, un calderito. Okay, just make sure that you use these pots, these calderos, only for that working, for those spiritual jobs. And this is how I use my calderos for, you know, the season of the witch, or for making baths, for making my potions, my brews, mis hechizos, mis hechicerías, mis trabajos espirituales. And yes, I'm going to end the video with a little incantation. A lot of people are going to think it's very cheesy, but I like anything that has to do with witchcraft, whether it's cheesy or not. It's just me. A lot of people will think it's cliche, but I'm going to end this video with a famous witch's incantation. I hope you like this video. If you do, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please leave a comment down below, and please share on your favorite social media. This is Sancista Brujo Luis. Also, when making herbal baths, I like to let it cool down. I just want to add, when I'm making herbal baths, I like to let it cool down. With sweet herbal baths, I like to add perfumes, Florida water, cascarilla, So I like to add my own perfumes, Pompeya, Florida water, you know, different perfumes, especially when I let it cool down. And I like to let it cool down completely for, you know, around 8 hours until this bath is cool. And then I strain it and I add the spiritual perfumes to the sweet herbal baths. Usually the bitter herbal baths, I do not add perfumes. I leave it as is. But to the sweet herbal bath, I genuinely like to add a spiritual cologne, a cascarilla, and again, I let them both cool down completely before I bottle them up, and I add a little blessing to them, an extra blessing to them. You know, I usually place them in an old milk container, an old milk jug, just to bless the bath, you know, when I'm doing it. And again, when it's a sweet herbal bath, I like to add, right now I'm letting it cool down, I like to add perfumes, cascarilla, oils, spiritual oils, and bitter baths I genuinely leave as is. With a cast iron cauldron, a lot of people get a little lazy. You have to let it cool down completely because it's very hot, okay? So I like to completely dry it off, you know, make sure it's dry, because if it's not completely dry, it will completely rust on you. So you want to make sure that you dry your cauldron every time you use it. Yes, it's a lot of work, but you know what? The brujos in the olden days, that's what they used to do. You know, the witches of the olden days, they had to make sure that they used all their instruments correctly, and they treated it with much respect. So what I do is I completely dry the cauldron, then I add some olive oil and I oil down the cauldron, and then mi caldero, and then put it away. But I make sure that it is completely dried off, washed and dried off, because if it's not, it will definitely rust on you. Like I said, I like to always oil down my cauldron, and what me personally, I just like to generally use is olive oil. I mean, every person has their own ways of doing it, but me personally, I like to add olive oil and get it all oiled down. I make sure that I oil down the lid, also dry down the lid, because remember, you're going to, if you don't, it will definitely rust out on you. So make sure that you use enough oil, just a little, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot, but that you oil both the inside and the outside of your cauldron, your caldero. This is a big caldero. I mean, it's huge, and I mean, it weighs like 20 pounds. It's got those 3 legs. You see right there? It's very heavy, and I oil it down, and I make sure it's, first of all, before I oil it, I make sure it's completely dried before I do my last step with my caldero, my cauldron. Remember that your cauldron is a sacred tool. Tu caldero is a sacred tool. Treat it with respect, and it will last you. It will last you your whole life. Every time you use it, make sure you dry it off and you oil it down. And I tend to put inside of it, just to absorb any oils. I like to put in towels and paper towels. So remember, your caldero, tu caldero, your cauldron is a sacred tool and should be treated as such. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this first video for the season of the witch, Halloween, the month of Halloween, my favorite month. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Sancista Brujo Luis. And remember, all your tools should be treated as sacred items And if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, and please subscribe, and please hit that like button. Sansista Brujo Luis. Thrice the brinded cat hath mew'd, thrice and once the hedge-pig whin'd. Harpies cry, 'tis time, 'tis time, round about the caldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw, toad that under cold stone, days and night has 31, swelter'd venom sleeping got, boil thou first, I the charm pot. Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and caldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake, in the caldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blind worm's sting, lizard's leg and owlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell-broth boil and bubble. Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and caldron bubble, scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf, of the ravid salt sea shark, root of hemlock, digged I the dark, liver of blaspheming Jew, gall of goat and slips of ewe, slivered in the moon's eclipse, nose of Turk and Tartar's lips, finger of birth strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drab, make the gruel thick and slab, add thereto a tiger's chadron, for the ingredients of our caldron, double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and caldron bubble, cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good.